lover of all types of music. It's always so fun to watch him. And it's always such a beautiful, smooth transition when he goes from Fuji to Afrobeat to pop to rock and roll to R&B to whatever genre. He always has this beautiful way where he just slides and morphs into it and his vibes continues. I love watching him when I see him do that. In all of his accolades, is a husband. It talks about what love and partnership looks like for him in 7 years of his marriage. I've known him for a while, and the time that he told me about his wife in their first year of marriage, the excitement, the energy, the burst in his expressions when he tells me about his wife in the first year of marriage, it's still the same way, like nothing changed. If anything, it got better in their seventh year of marriage. It talks about how he's learning from his 5-year-old daughter and his 3-year-old daughter. He's a great believer of people needing to make mistakes so that they can learn. It talks about his many failures, and how he's constantly navigating life as a tech founder, a husband, and a father. Seye Bandele is the co-founder of Paid HR, one of the fastest growing HR tech platform in Africa. He's passionate about building the future of work. I know because he's been my boss in the past and he was an amazing boss. He's based in Lagos with his beautiful wife and kids. He loves books, is a constantly curious soul, and the charismatic, beautiful human that he is was such a fun thing to watch while asking him questions and just hearing him give beautiful answers. Enjoy Seye Bandele's human experience. What has your week been like?
This week,
Mm-hmm.
this week has been like every other week, like full of ups and downs. As in, I usually describe it. My life is full of very high highs and very low lows. So I've experienced that this week as well. We started the week great. Okay, first day of this week was salary day, and I have to pay salary. So I was like, oh my god, I paid salaries and stuff like that. But I think before the end of that day, we closed a good deal, and that gave me some confidence. And then we got some really good wins this week, at least work related. We did some things that we've never done before, and it was nice. So positives are very positive, negatives are just there. So yeah.
I think I have a question like that. Like, how do you balance your failures and your successes?
Are you asking me that now?
Yeah, I
Okay.
have a question later, but now that we're in it.
I mean, one of the things that I've taught myself to do is to just acknowledge that regardless of what happens, you have to realize that this is a journey, right? Before, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, I used to beat myself up for maybe when things don't go the way I expect, and I'm already at this age. This is what I should be doing, and I wasn't anywhere near that level. So I used to used to frustrate me a lot. Like, gosh, yeah, man, you need to do more. You need to do more. You need to do more. And now, in hindsight, I now realize that many of the things that I considered were just ordinary at that time, or like, yeah, of course, you have to pay your children's school fees and stuff like that, were things I should have been grateful for. I should have been more grateful for. Like, even in the lowest of lowest periods of my life, I was still able to put my child in the school that I wanted her to go to. Right? I got to that point and I did not compromise on okay, because I don't have a lot of money now, let her go to this other school. No. I put her in the school I wanted her to go to. And she's been in that school even till now. So it's now more like yeah, you do the best that you can do, and they say opportunity loves preparation, right? So if you find opportunity while doing the best that you're doing, great. But if those opportunities don't come, just chalk it up to the game, man. That's your journey. That's what it's going to be. That's your experience, and just enjoy that. Find a way to enjoy that.
Got it. Would you say that the reason you've come to accept that life is a journey, as opposed to a couple of years ago where you used to beat yourself up, is because of the fact that you have actually attained some level of success? that makes you not always stay in that low.
Mm-hmm.
So say for instance, like a different hypothesis where you're still there,
Mm-hmm.
like 7 years later, you're still there. Do you think you have a different perception or perspective to life, or it will still be this way?
To be honest, I don't know. I won't lie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But everything has context, right?
Yeah.
And that's becoming my that's becoming like my running gag. Everything has context. So because I've achieved some success and I'm now like, ah yeah, so maybe the bad times weren't that bad.
Mm,
But also the other side of the conversation is that even the success that I seem to have enjoyed, is it really what I should have enjoyed? Right? It could have been any of those two things. You can beat
got it.
yourself up about man, things did not go right. But okay, now things are going right, and like people who have done 50%, 25%, 40% of what we've done
Mm-hmm.
are way more successful than we are. And I can also start to beat myself up about that.
Mm-hmm.
So either way, it's just that I've got to the point where I realize that, man, share, you can do everything in your power, and the results may not be commensurate to the effort that you've put in.
Mm-hmm.
You need to just find a way to live with it and be happy, and find the things that truly make you enjoy the journey of life.
So acceptance.
I see it as maturity, like a broader view.
Yeah.
Right? It's not really acceptance, it's just like a broader view, like, oh sure, yeah, you're fixating on this little parts, but if you take a broader view,
Mm-hmm.
your life is actually great.
I know. The last person I had on the podcast also had that perspective, and is a
Mm-hmm.
man as well. So I'm beginning to think like I had to learn it as well. Which,
Mm-hmm.
when you say maturity, I realized that okay, truly it is maturity.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm like, okay, I've mostly interviewed men. Is it a man thing? Because I'm like the only one that I know does that at the
I
moment
mean, you
outside of
find out when you interview more
more
women,
women.
right?
Yeah, I know. I know. So you said that what you've done is to find happiness regardless of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what those things are that you've chosen to do to keep yourself happy regardless of
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm. One of the things, and it seems a little bit mundane, is to truly take advantage of the friendships I've created along my journey, right? I mean, the vicissitudes of
Of
life,
life.
right, have taken people to different locations,
Yeah.
different geographies, and stuff like that.
Mm,
But I find that I've been able to maintain relationships and friendships with the people that really matter.
okay.
And I use those friendships, I use them
Mm,
for the purpose of which they were created. Like when I'm feeling really low, I go to my group chat with my two favorite guys,
mm,
and I'm like, bro, this is how I'm feeling. And they also, without even necessarily solving my issue, them just telling me that, me too, now we see I dey struggle with this, so no be only you,
yeah.
this and this, that and that, blah blah blah. We have like a 6 hour talk in the group chat. We can even move to video calls, and everybody was talking. Just that experience of talking about what I'm going through and hearing what they are going through as well lifts a burden off of my shoulders. And at the end of the call, I find out that I'm really grateful for this friendship.
Mm,
I'm glad that I have these people that I can be so vulnerable and open
right.
with, right? Even in a way that sometimes you may not be able to be open with your partner. There are some fears that you have that you cannot share with your partner because it's going to put them into some type of anxiety or worry as well. And you don't want that. You don't want to have to manage that with what you're currently dealing with. So you just find out that I'm grateful for those friendships,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll continue to invest in those friendships because what they've done for me today, I imagine what they'll do for me in 5 years or in 10 years and stuff like that. So,
Got it.
yeah.
So you mentioned the WhatsApp group with your
Mm-hmm.
friends, and you mentioned how valuable it is for you, for your sanity. I like the fact that you say I cannot share a lot of things with my partner because you don't want to put them
It's
into
not
a
a lot,
state.
it's just some.
Some,
Mm-hmm.
I sorry, so you don't want to put them in a state. I hear you from a man's perspective, but what do you think it's like on a woman's perspective?
Marriages are different, right? Or relationships are different, right?
Mm.
Or heterosexual relationships are different. With my own context, right?
Yeah.
I've always said everything has context, so you have
Mm.
to apply your own context. So heterosexual relationships are different. They have their own nuances and stuff. There are people who have what is their own idea of successful marriages,
Mhm.
where the wife barely knows anything about the professional life of the husband, for instance. or any other parts of his life, his social life, his whatever. There are also other types of marriages where before the marriage can be considered to be successful, they share everything with each other, right? Like I know exactly, like if somebody calls me in the middle of my sleep and says, "Where's your wife?" I know where she is, I know what she's doing, I know what she's struggling with right now. So mine is more towards that side. But then I realized that, you know, as we grew in the marriage, I realized that there's expectation and reality, right? And sometimes the expectation can be that because I have my own struggles, which I lean on you for support, and some of them that I do not, right? I imagine that you as the man have your shit figured out, right? So when I communicate my vulnerability or the things that I'm struggling with, I realize that women will take it as, oh my God, I have to help this guy out. I have to provide some type of guidance or support for this guy. And it may come at a time where she herself is struggling with stuff. So if it happens and those intersections exist, you cannot define what her response will be. Her response can be fear, right? Uncertainty, anxiety, like, oh my God, I'm still even struggling with this, my own part that I'm trying to take care of. And then also I've realized that this guy is struggling as well and doesn't have a clear idea of how he's going to navigate this problem. So now my own problem has been compounded because I thought this guy had his stuff sorted out, right? So as a man, right, and I apologize to respond still as a man, I'm still trying to paint a picture for the woman as well. You now realize that, let me not introduce some type of imbalance into what this person has going on, and let me just deal with this by myself. But sometimes these issues can be very overwhelming, and you really need to discuss it with somebody, right? Which is why you will now look for safe spaces, friendships, and things that you can discuss it with in a way that helps you achieve some type of clarity and does not add to the stress of your partner. Do you get me? But women usually see it as, Ashe, why do you have to go and speak to your friend instead of speaking to me? I don't want to do that. There's context again, right?
Yeah.
This is why I don't want to speak to you, is that the outcomes may not be, may they create more problems, right? And these things may not even be damaging or anything. It may just be like, my head is full, man. I need to be able to compartmentalize my problems and just deal with them one after the other. So what I've learned in those years of marriage is just that there will be the times, and these times that I'm speaking about, they are maybe 11% or 10% of the time.
Yeah.
90% of the time, you guys have your shit together. We're in the same shape. Your problems are my problems and all that. But there's that 10% or more. Can I speak Yoruba sometimes? Because Yoruba is my mother tongue. There's that 10% where like, makes you not even know this part because it can introduce some type of vibe that will create a bigger problem. So let me just deal with this in a different way.
Got it. I know what you're saying because I know you've been married for like 7 years now. 8 years. And I know like you are one of the people who has like very fantastic marriage, in my opinion.
By the grace of God Almighty. Amen.
In my opinion, from what I've seen. Yeah. And I like the fact that you say even if it's just 10%, because 90% covers up for the 10%, which is good. And I don't want to flesh out this 10%, but just in the case where, what do you think our thoughts are when you even say, oh, I don't want to overwhelm you, I don't want to create the imbalance? What do you think really your partner's thoughts are, and how are they navigating the fact that, especially being a woman, you're supposed to tell me these things? I think now that I'm grown, I know differently about the fact that, no, don't bring all your problems to me. That's why you have friends. Like, even I as a woman would not want to do that to my partner. That's why I have friends that I can always, navigate things.
Actually, I think it's a little bit different. I think that because the context is that I love this person, right? I love you, as in I'm interested in everything about you. As in the kind of love that my wife has for me is, is complete. It is whole, right? My wife would tell me when I'm going out in the morning as a 30-something-year-old man, is like, Shay, you have to brush your hair, right? You must brush your hair. Your fingernails are too long. Come, let me cut them for you, right? She may be dealing with other stuff like, Shay, your fingernails are too long. You need to cut them, right? But normally, if she didn't have any other problems, like, we have to bring your fingernails, I'll cut them for you,
Yeah.
I'll wash your socks, I'll do all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. But I have my own problems, right? This is life. But this is the reality, right? Your hair is too long, you need to cut it, blah, blah, blah. So, and there are other things, right? I just use that as an example to define the context of somebody loving you completely. So, for somebody who has that feeling about you, who feels that way about you, it can never go down well with them that there comes a time in your life that you have a problem that you don't want to tell them.
Yeah.
Right?
Fair.
Like, no matter what, forget this overwhelming that you're saying or this blah blah blah. Tell me, I want to be
a part
right.
of it.
Exactly. I want to be involved in these problems so that I can help towards resolution. But as an individual, as a man, individual, forget your gender. You also owe yourself the duty and owe your partner the duty to say, I'm on this person safe a human being. Right? If I lay my problems on my wife the way that I feel them, it will become too much of a burden to her. And in as much as I understand that, man, I'm telling you this because you love me, and I would rather know, I will not tell any other person because I would rather deal with it by myself. You also still have to get to the point where you like, it will be too much for her. Let me hold this to myself and find another way to deal with it. So, yeah, if she hears me talk about this, like, hey, you have problems that you talk to your friends about that, not me. It's like, why are you doing that? They're sabotaging something. But me, I know, right? I know, especially because like I said, this person would evaluate everything about you and think about how she wants to help you become the best version of yourself. So if I let her know that problem, one of the running gags or running fights that I usually have with my wife is that I tell her that she tries to control every outcome, right? Then I tell her about my problem, right? The first thing she's doing is that, okay, Shay, this is where you made the mistake, and this is how to correct your mistake, and this is what you do, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, you're only saying this because I presented a little part of the problem to you, right? There's so much more that you cannot understand because I'm also a person going through my life and doing my things and dealing with all these other people and concepts and problems and stuff. So I can tell you that you get what's they disturb me now. There's somebody who is taking this approach to this thing that is becoming a problem for me. I'm like, oh, why does this person have that much control? Yeah, so she's trying to solve your problem, right? Because she loves you, right? But she doesn't have the full context. She cannot control those outcomes the way she would prefer to. And then it just becomes, does this guy have the capacity to solve his problems? Do I have to worry about helping him solve his problems? How is his efficiency at solving his problems going to affect me, who has chosen to do 50% equity with this guy's life, right? So those are the concerns.
You talk about your wife like she loves the entirety of you. And I feel like you are the one that talks about the entirety of her in how much you love her. Tell me what that is. Tell me, because again, 8 years. I met you when the year you got married, and that year up until now, I really don't think anything has changed in the way that you talk about her, express your emotions towards her. Like I've never even met her. That's it. But if anybody calls me or maybe wakes me from my sleep to say, oh, do you know Seye? The first thing I'll say is that he loves his wife. Honestly, because it's been 8 years and I haven't sensed anything shift in the way that you talk about her, the way that you feel about how you express your love towards her. And I want to know if it's who you are as a person. I want to know if it's how much she is as a person and how much she loves you as a person. What exactly is it about this love? What exactly is it about 8 years after? It's even better. So yeah, tell me, because this is one of like the hardest contexts in life in itself, and somehow Seye Bandele has cracked it. In my opinion, and from my perception of what you express and talk about.
So the context, I think, is that when I met my wife, she was the first person who I knew was as teachable as I was, right? Early on in my life, I had clocked that I was only born into a certain perspective of life. And for me to understand what life offers and get the best out of life, I have to be open to learn the experience from different perspectives, right? If you dig deep enough, you find out that people who love to travel and go around life and experience different cultures and stuff like that, there's something rooted in that thinking as well. Like, oh, okay, I want to learn. So when I met my wife, I realized that, oh, wow, I found somebody who is teachable. I dated many people before that, but most people were stuck in their ways, set in their ways, and like, oh, this is how I expect a man to be and stuff like that. But my wife seemed to be open to learn, as in she seemed to have understood that, okay, the best of life is still ahead of me, and I have to be in a certain way to be able to consume those experiences, and then that shapes my person. And those were my hidden traits as well, right? Even though I appeared like this guy who could
Had it all
figure out stuff, and I knew that a lot of life was still ahead of me. So that was the first indication that this is the kind of person to build a life with. Now, getting to how did we manage to be the way we were in 2017 versus now? It is that, and I don't want to find a generic way to just describe it, like, oh, okay, friendship and stuff like that. But if you listen to me and my wife's conversations, even though we go through every other emotions that normal couples will go through, we fight, we get jealous, we have too much expectations of each other, and all those things exist. But when it comes to conversations of honesty, the honesty is 150%, right? And because we set the context for the honest, like, bro, it is just me who is going to be as honest with you as I can be in the whole world. Any other person, even if they genuinely like you, there are still some things they will hold back because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But with everything I'm about to say to you, even if I hurt your feelings, please understand that it's because I care for you, right? That I want you to understand this perspective so that we can have some type of resolution or growth. So that remains for both of us because is fundamental to how we understood each other or met each other. I realized that in any given moment, my wife wants to understand that, oh, okay, what is it that I'm missing out that may be jeopardizing my judgment of this situation, and I'm ready to listen, right?
That's good.
Same for me. Like, oh, okay. So there are so many things. There are so many concepts that the world has a defined response to. LGBTQ, political tendencies, whatever. Me and my wife, if we see those situations, like, what could be the deeper reason, right? And we realize that we share those commonalities on all of these issues all the time. So that exists, and that is why I think it appears that I love the entirety of this person. Right? We fight, right? A lot. My wife has said it that you like fight. And it's because in any given issue, we don't sweep things under the carpet. If the issue is not resolved, it's not resolved. Right? My wife cannot sleep if she's upset with me. Yeah, I can. Right? So if we have a certain issue, like, I cannot sleep, or we have to discuss this thing. Like, okay, great. Me, I love getting to the resolution point. So I can sacrifice my sleep. Oh yeah, let's talk about it, right? You get, it's not because mommy, I'll sleep, or I'll deal with this later.
I like the balance because she is I want to begin the journey towards this resolution. You are, I want to make sure we get a resolution to end. So
exactly,
it's a fine balance of somebody wants to talk about it, somebody wants to end it, not somebody wants to avoid it, somebody wants to start it and like, no, I don't want to deal with it. Yeah, that's good.
So all of these things come together into what appears to be like, I love this person. When people say they love each other, they assume it's the deepest thing possible. Like, I love you. Even now, with the growth that I've experienced in the past 7-8 years, even the vows that we took at the altar, I realized that, we just said those things because like now, if they say I should write my vows, it will have more meaning, right? It will have more meaning. There will be more into it that sets the context, or sets the context of us experiencing each other. So yeah.
Awesome. I like it. So I'm going to delve into that quickly because I know that your wife, yourself and your wife, like we had so much question, but somehow it's this marriage thing the rest, you know. So yourself and your wife are of different religions when you guys started, and I know you're somebody who comes from a deep religious background of Islam, and your wife isn't just Christian; she's Catholic, I believe. What informed that rebellion? From what you said, it makes sense, but tell me something that gave you the cue to stand on that rebellion against maybe your family or with her as well, like a Catholic marrying a Muslim person. How has that been? What was that like at the beginning of the marriage? Convincing families. What has it been since you guys got married? Has there been any slight issue regarding that? And how has that navigation been with children? Yeah.
You sound like my aunties.
I'm just curious.
Yeah. So you know me. Fortunately for you, you know me a little bit, at least. I'm the kind of person that if I'm convinced that this is what I should do, it's very difficult to find anybody in the world that will convince me different. Right? Even if the person is my employer, like you know. Especially because of the context I said before, like one of the reasons why I said that okay, this person I was going to marry is because I realized that this person was ready to learn life with me, and I didn't find it in any other person that I had dated before. So every other thing became a derivative. Every other thing became like a variable, like religion, blood group, height, color, body type, body structure. All of those things became variables.
Got it.
Even religion, which most people consider to be the sacrosanct. And yes, I come from a staunchly Islamic upbringing, right? Fortunately, because of the way that I believe God writes the story of life, He allows you opportunity to live the kind of life that you want. So I had clocked earlier from back as early as 2011 when I became responsible for myself wholly. That you're in charge of your life, right? Even in my upbringing, as exposed and the kind of education that my father gratefully exposed us to, I already had my own reservations about religion, right? Like, I think the biggest challenge with religion is that a lot of what was cultural was reported as religion.
Got it.
And that's the biggest summary of it. Like, these things were cultural to those tribes and those times, and then people reported it as religion and expect us to conform to it, and unfortunately it's not going to fly. So I already knew that religion had that flaw. So I went through all the motions, right? I didn't want to give my parents too much headache, right? So I tried to date a Muslim and all that, but it didn't work out. I didn't find this trait that eventually, in hindsight, is now when I realized that, oh, okay, this is actually why this marriage worked.
Got it.
It's not like I knew, like, okay, this is what I'm looking for. I just realized that because you have certain principles, how you've grown up, how your experiences have defined you and things like that, you just gravitate towards this person, and you guys always find a complete way to resolve issues so that you can move on, because issues always exist. So I had found this person. We had dated for almost 2 years. I was like, I don't think there's anything else out there for me beyond this, right? I don't think the probabilities or permutations and combinations will work me out to get this same kind of person, but within the right religion and all these other variables that I will now be able to help me make a decision. Like, so I needed to choose one cardinal point, which is the one that I defined. I said, okay, any in my marriage. And
in my marriage, this is who I'm going to marry.
And then I went home and told my parents that I had found the person I was going to marry, and unfortunately she's not the religion that they want, but I'm going to go ahead and I'll be honored if they attend the wedding, but if they do not, I will still do it.
Just in case.
Yeah. That was what I said to them. Unfortunately for me, again, like I said, there's a way God writes your story to allow it happen. My father was already older. If my father was still 20 years younger, it would have been a bigger issue. But it was already old. It was already on his way out. It was like, no, allow, and my mom was like, are you sure? Like, yes, I'm sure. And then my other relatives were like, what are the children going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And I had a very strict response, even to you. Like, did I even tell you that I want to have kids?
I remember, yeah, you didn't say that.
Right?
But you have 2 kids now.
Yeah. It's like, why are you thinking so far out? I'm telling you, I'm trying to build a life with a person. And you're asking me about what religion, which is a variable to me at this point, and that my kids are going to practice. Like, I believe you should allow me the
leeway.
Yeah, right, of making that decision when I get there. So, to the secondary parts of your question, have there been any issues? Absolutely fuck not. Right? As we continue to be teachable in life and learning the life journey and consuming all that is available in terms of experiences, knowledge, cultural nuances, all the things, we realize more and more that humanity has twisted religion into different things. And we ourselves have to be careful. There's even Baba Adeboye, who when we were young and growing, was one of the most respected, revered figures in religion. Now, more people don't question them, right? Because religion has a part to play in politics, and politics is partisan, and then people have binary positions that they can hold in politics. So all of a sudden, they're questioning your reverence in religion. So we've realized that, bro, religion is an addition to life. It's not life itself. Right?
Okay.
So issues, no.
Not even with kids.
Yeah. With kids, my kids are Christian.
Okay.
My kids are Christian because even me, I'm not practicing the Islam. Right? So I don't even have enough to bring up somebody into that religion because I have my own reservations about the religion, both religions really. So, if somebody is willing to teach them what I teach my kids, I mean, my kids are going to be one of the greatest participants of society, right? Because they have a father who at least has a great understanding of what a good society is supposed to be and teaches them the values to be what a good participant of that society should be. So my children know the difference between good and evil, selfishness, transparency, context, understanding that if somebody behaves a certain way, it is because of their own experiences, and I have to be gracious enough to understand that they don't share my context, and I should be able to relate with them in a way that becomes progressive or beneficial. So yeah,
that's really good. Thank you. Yeah, so this is a good question. A couple of years ago, when we worked together, I'd always heard you say and also act in a way that you always give people grace. I still think you're that person. And even though they continue to make certain silly mistakes, you're very quick to forgive and you constantly see the good in everyone. And I think there was a particular way you said it that never left me. And I'm trying to remember, but for lack of better words, is 9 out of 10 times I will always see the good, and I will take that 9 over the one that you do wrong. And because we work together, and I really saw people just doing all sorts. To me, the humane part of me felt that was cool, but the professional part of me felt because one of the biggest part of my life was or still is my career. And I feel I think one of the things I learned early is you do not hire a brilliant jackass. So people who are very good at what they do, but they're jackasses, and you gave so much grace to that at some point in my perspective, it began to question your authority as a leader. So what has that been like for you? Do you still have, I'm sure you still have that because it's a core part of you, and how has that played out positively or negatively?
Yeah. So I wish somebody can write a proper autobiography of my life up until this point before we even unveil the next phase. So just like I said, with respect to marriage and choosing a partner, it was that how do I identify people who have realized that a lot of life is still ahead of them and they have to be teachable to learn it. That also drills down into this thing that you have asked me, which is basically if people don't make mistakes, how are they going to learn? Right? These mistakes, no matter how crazy they seem to people who do not have context, the perpetrators or the person who made that mistake still needs to feel that embarrassment, feel that shame to learn.
Yeah.
Right? If I stop them from feeling that embarrassment, then they haven't really learned because they're like, oh yeah, Shaya used his acumen or his experiences to make a decision and we're going to work with that because we cannot see what the other side would have been. So it's a core value to me, right? Today I have 40 employees that I'm paying their salaries directly. I'm doing team lead. So if you could speak to any of them, even, and again, like I said, God has his way of writing your story. Even my co-founder also is my kind of person. So, and whether it is that we bounce, we are rubbing off each other in terms of what the approach is to building a great company, it is that we don't micromanage, right?
Yeah.
We never have. I have, you know me, I never have.
Yeah.
So do your thing, right? I'm also not dumb, right? Even if I don't micromanage, I still know how to make decisions, right? I'll give you an example. My former HR person was like, Ashe, I think people are taking advantage of our relaxed kind of approach to work and culture and stuff like that. And people walk into the organization, people resume. Our resumption time is 9 a.m. People come at 10:30, 11 o'clock, and stuff like that. That we need to put a time and attendance machine to clock in and clock out. And so I was like, no, we're never going to do that.
Yep.
Right? Fortunately, at that time, we were like 23 people or 25 people. You and I know the latecomers in this place, right? So what happens is that when it comes to the time that we need to give responsibility or we need to give the opportunity of leadership to members of the team, you already know people that you cannot trust.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you introduce those kind of things, people will start coming early just for the sake of I've come in early.
Yeah.
Then your decision points or your decision making points have reduced because you don't know who is just coming because he wants to clock in or who is coming because they are responsible. So that is what that approach to work and life has taught me, and I stick by it. Now, your resultant question was something around how do I know that it is working or something like that. It is that you just need to take stock of the work that I've done. Right? We've built a company at a time of great disadvantage, and we've grown it to be the second largest HR tech company in Nigeria. Right? I think all of those things add up to that success. The culture, the approach to work, the opportunity, the execution style, the hiring style, the ability to find the people who will work on your vision and all that stuff, as well as all the other things that I've done, right? So it helps me. I'm able to sleep better at night. I know that even though there are laxities within the team, they are visible to me. And when it's time to make a decision that becomes incrementally progressive, I have the data and I can make those decisions.
Got it. Being somebody who has worked with you as your subordinate, it's the reason I asked the question because I've only seen my context in the entirety of that. And when I say my context is the growth even after we stopped working together. I haven't seen others' context that were quite negative. And I really think that you are you recognize talent, you have good data on what is being done right and what isn't being done right, even though you act like you don't. And I mean,
the results show. I mean, the results speak for themselves, isn't it?
That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. So yeah, okay, so this is a good question. Everyone is performative on the outside. And it's so funny because I think I'm learning that more and more in the weirdest way. So am I.
Mm-hmm.
And I sometimes feel like yours can be very out there. And maybe because I know you personally. And why do you think that people do it? Why do you think that you do it? And then how do you ground yourself so you're not always in that performative zone?
I need more context.
Something.
So like people are very performant. So I will contextualize this to myself.
Got it.
Like, so the question is that, Cher, you appear very
It's
performative outside,
yes.
right?
I think that I would know because I know you even deeper,
Mm-hmm.
but someone who just met you will be like, maybe that's too much. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm not.
Like we talk about our work,
Yeah. No, so I think what it is that you're a very genuine, open person.
Mm-hmm.
Some it might be too much for some people.
Mm-hmm.
There's also like the balance of you shouldn't really be out there saying all sorts type of thing.
I get that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, people have listened to me and said like, Cher, you interact and communicate with everybody. Shouldn't you think there should be some reservation and stuff like that? And again, everything has context. Where you are in your journey kind of determines, depending on how introspective you are, how much am I doing things just for doing sake,
Yeah.
or am I doing things because I know what impact this thing that I'm doing is having, right? Those are two different things. If you are aware of your journey and you know that at this stage of my life, for me to find opportunity, I need to communicate very clearly the progress that I've enjoyed, the challenges that I face, the vision that I have, and stuff like that. And you find a channel to communicate it to the people who matter. It will be very foolish of you to now decide that that's when you want to exercise restraint.
Yeah.
So, for me, I really don't care about the response of the public to the things that I communicate, right? Because I know it's purposeful, right? What I do has its purpose. So if I talk about my work and I appear at this event and I speak at this podcast and stuff and so on and so forth, it's because I'm trying to create something, right? Many people don't know that, and they're like, "Oh, I saw you here, I met you here, and all that." Now, as a principle for me and my life, I have a duty to impact the oncoming generation positively. My easiest approach is through education. And I've realized that the best form of education is imparting knowledge through your own experience, right? When you were in secondary school, right? And maybe they wanted to teach you an algebraic equation. And they say 2x plus 5 equals 25. Find x. It's very abstract, right? But if they say, I have a basket of oranges, right?
Context.
Right? I have a basket of oranges. And if I multiply those oranges by 2 and add another 5, then I will have 25 oranges. How many oranges were in the basket in the first place? It becomes real, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay. We're looking for oranges. But you're telling me 2x, like all of this is very abstract, like I don't get it. So if I write a tweet, most of the responses to people, as if you see any viral tweet of mine, and I used to act like I didn't know what I do. when people say, Shay, how do you come up with these things? And I'm like, myself, no, I actually know. I write my stories. I tell my stories in the most humane, relatable way possible, right? Because I want you to get the education. That's what I want. That's my principle. So I will tell you I will post my receipts when I go and buy fuel at the filling station, because I want you to know how real this thing is and how it impacts me and how it, sort of affects you as well. So that's my goal in life. That's one of the things I've recently registered a foundation that is going to recognize academic excellence and stuff like that. So that is one of my cardinal pillars or focuses in this life, is how to impact the oncoming people, whether you are 2 years younger than me or 25 years younger than me, to be better players in society, because I cannot do all. I'll be done here. My energy is going to max out in 30 years, right?
Yeah.
30 years is a short time, so my impact is still very little on what the future of Nigeria is going to be, or at least my environment. So being performative is not, I don't really give a damn if some people look at this and like, you're doing too much, you're speaking too much, you're talking too much, you're praying too much. Like, if you own target audience me, right? My target audience is to the people who can see that story and realize that today everybody says, oh, Dangote became the richest man in Nigeria because his grandfather, Datata, gave him a 500,000 naira loan in the 70s or in the 80s. Everything that happened from the 70s to the 90s or 2000s, where he suddenly became the richest man, we don't know. Nobody knows, right? Like, you know the amount of work you have to put in from a loan to becoming $9 billion, $11 billion, $13 billion rich. So if we had a Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook from 1970 to now, and you go and read his timeline of how he grew incrementally to where he is today, then it becomes more relatable. Like, I see, right? So that's why I'm very open with my communication. Like, man, today, oh boy, B2B contracts stress me. You might have a contract signed, but when it's time to pay, they would ask you for the blood of the mosquito and this and that and blah blah blah. So people can see that, this thing is like real life. I'm not going to show up tomorrow as worth $50 million, and people will be like,
where did
how?
it come from?
Do you get me?
Yeah,
right? So that's why
you are. Got it. Tell me about paid HR. For me, I think like,
oh my god.
No, let me say no. Hear me. If I paid HR in the context that I know it to be is HR work regarding payments and salaries. If I didn't know about paid HR, but I knew about Seye, what I would have thought Seye would do was still something related to people, because I think you're a great manager of people. But then you went finance, people finance, not like you just said, people building is your thing. I've always known that people helping people understand, giving people the grace to be able to grow in their career and find their identity is your thing. But then you went people financing. So why?
They say payments is the second oldest profession in the world.
Okay.
After prostitution. Anyway, moving on. So the context of paid HR is still people. You're absolutely right. Paid HR was going to build a platform that gave or extracted value from people.
Okay.
How we arrived there was that people is what Africa has going for it. Not the mineral resources, not the what. Actually, that's what most people think about Africa. A land of mineral resources, vegetation, diamonds, gold, crude oil, blah, blah, blah. But our most inexhaustible resource is people. And you're right. My biggest interest is in people and getting the best out of people and stuff like that. So I've said this story many times, and I'm finding a way to not repeat the entire story again, is that paid HR, when we started it, was like, okay, how do we create something that helps people become the best version of themselves? And when we did all our permutations and combinations, it arrived at the beginning has to be HR software as a place where you aggregate people and manage them. That's how we started. Now, as we've built out a lot more products in our roadmap, we now realize that, okay, you guys are now seeing that, payments and employee benefits and all that. So what paid HR is going to be in the future is a digital bank for Africa's workforce, right? So the people in Africa, there will be, in my own capacity, there will be other ancillary like businesses that I'm going to do that helps people find talent, develop talent, and then participate in Africa's workforce. But paid HR is going to build a platform that helps once you come into the workforce, right? PDHR exists with the tools that it has built to help you become the best version of yourself. It will help you get better at your talent or your skills. It will help you make the best out of your pay. First of all, okay, receive your pay, make the best out of your pay, connect you to financial solutions that make your life better, and so on and so forth. So everything that exists in that value chain of employment and receiving salaries, and in being able to, from your app, invest in the stock market in the United States or in Philippines or in Africa, in Nigeria, anywhere, you'll be able to do once you come into the environment of PDHR. So yeah, it's not a departure, it's still aligned.
Yeah, I like it. I like the fact that you took it as a journey, not one destination, and then you started to build your roadmap and then see the low hanging fruit, so to speak. It's really good. In my opinion, you're a generalist and not a specialist. And in this world where specialists are always like, oh, you have to specialize at something, and what they say, jack of all trade, master of none. But we know that's not the end of the quote and all of that.
Okay, I was about to clear you, but
that's not the end of the code. But like the world will label what they don't understand and make it feel like, oh, something is wrong. Tell me why and how that works for you. I know, but then if you're giving advice to, say, someone who is multifaceted, somebody who, because I'm also like that, and it took me a while, maybe not took me a while, but more like I knew my strength. Even though I could specialize at different things, I wanted to max out the capacity of my brain and my mind. For people who are like that, who are still stuck with the maybe societal norms of, oh, jack of all trade, master of none type of thing, and seeing how successful you've been at being a generalist,
yikes.
what is your advice to someone like that?
First of all, I don't think there's no such thing as a generalist, right? I mean, okay, society defines certain things as generalists, but I believe that every generalist has an area of specialty.
Got it. Yep.
It's just that they've decided that for the impact I want to make in life, I have to rise beyond this my area of specialty and be able to do all of these things. The examples are everywhere. Would you say Elon Musk is a journalist? Even with the little context that we have, he has Neuralink, he has SpaceX, he has the Boring Company, he has Twitter, he has his roots in PayPal, and so on and so forth. So, like, bro, I did do everything because he has a certain impact that he wants to make on life. But if you sit with Elon Musk or people who worked with Elon Musk in his professional career, they'll tell you, no, Elon Musk is great at X or Y or Z. I am great at analyzing data to tell stories, right? I'm also great, like you said, at identifying talent and managing people. These things are core skills that if I wanted to create a career out of, I will be top of my percentile, top percentile in those areas. But I realized that as an inspired person, and I was trying to explain inspired people to my wife a couple days ago. An inspired person is that the difference between an inspired person and an uninspired person is the uninspired guy is like, oh man, Nigeria is not working. I have this skill set, so I'm going to sell all my property and japa, right? And then the inspired person goes like, regardless of these disadvantages, I have this opportunity. No, he may still japa as well, but he has his hands in many things and is trying to create a certain type of impact. So, because of my vision and because of the things of the kind of impact I want to create is why it now appears like, oh, Seye is a generalist and he does these things. One thing that I think I'm great at is I'm able to have an idea, right? But I won't let you know that I have the idea. I will work with you to the point where that idea that I already had is created and you believe that it's also your idea. It happens so many times, even in my organization.
It happened with me, Seye.
right? Right? Even yesterday we were at the studio and something happened, as in what the production became. I was like, yes, this is how exactly how I wanted it to happen. But if you ask those guys, it's like they came up with this thing by
Yeah.
themselves. But I had the idea many
Love
weeks
it.
ago. So it depends on your vision and the impact you want to create,
Got it.
right? Specialists are great. There are people who, for instance, say Warren Buffett, who's also one of the richest people in the world, is the best investor in the world, right?
Yeah.
The history is there,
Speaks for itself.
right?
Yeah.
But there are guys like Bill Gates, there are guys like Elon Musk, there are guys like Ivan Kamprad. No, okay, maybe he's also a specialist. That's the IKEA guy.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't even know who that is.
He's not a creator IKEA. He was at one point the richest man in the world, but he died. There are guys who just know how to come up with stuff and gather enough people around it to make it work to the point that it has the impact that they initially wanted to have.
Give me a context as to when you're doing that. Run me through your mind when you're doing that. When you have an
Seed an
idea,
idea, Abi.
yeah, and then seed it into other people and make it look like it's theirs. Give me.
It all
something.
comes from impact,
Got it.
right? It all comes from impact and the ability to see a vision that other people cannot see. When we created Paid, the reason why, it was PADE before,
Yeah.
right? And people called it Pade and all of that.
I thought it was Paddy.
Right.
I was like Paddy.
Right? Yeah. And then when we changed to Paid HR, and people are like, why did you change to Paid HR? Blah, blah, blah. Paid was a vision, right? The initial domain name we tried to buy in 2020 or so was paid.com, paid.com.
Okay.
But that's an expensive domain name. The brokerage was $1,000. When we explored
That's even cheap.
no, brokerage.
Yeah,
the
I know.
cost of it was going to be about 30,000.
Okay, because I was like, that's even cheap for brokerage.
So we're like, I beg. So we started to do like different types of variations and permutations to go to PAD. But unfortunately, people understood it as
Paddy,
right? Now, it's now that we've changed to Paid HR because of the learnings from our journey, and the HR part is not negligible. It's why we realized we have to add Paid HR. But back then, the vision was what we are even seeing now. Was like, how do we create value out of payroll? Yes, I will build the technology to do excellent payroll, but how do I do more? How do I build upon that? How do I create an ecosystem of payments and services and financial solutions within the world of where people earn their salaries to create value for the African continent? That was the vision of Paid, and that was what informed the name back then till we got to Paid HR now. Now, everybody I've met along that journey, those who have worked with me either as full-time employees or contractors or collaborators or participators or whatever, everybody sees the vision till today, right? Because all you need to do is to sit down with me 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes in my office, and I explain to you the vision that people cannot see that we're trying to create. And that happens with every other thing as well. So it's usually that, whether it's big, medium, or small, I usually have like an outcome, right? A future that I can see that nobody else can see. And then I try to get you to see it as well. And break the journey down into bite-sized, achievable milestones that you now realize that, if I achieve every of these milestones, all of a sudden I've created that future. And that's what it is for me.
Okay, so another example I'd like to hear is the one you did in the studio. So you have a music company?
Yes, it's a live recording studio.
Studio. It has a beautiful
It's called name. Better Sound. Yeah.
Better Sound. I like the name. Yeah. Tell me that context you gave regarding people in the studio. Yeah. Give me that. What happened?
So we have a routine, right? There's a way we do our recordings and performances and stuff. But for me, and we've already created that. We've already defined ourselves. But I'm seeing more. And, they are like, we already have our thing going on. It's looking sweet now. But they are not seeing that what I envision for the brand is much bigger than that. So I'm like, guys, we're going to do something differently, okay? We're going to change the look of this entire studio. We are going to, even if the studio is the studio, but we're going to make it look like it's not this place, right? And this is how I think it is achievable with very limited resources. I'm like, share, this is going to, first of all, it challenges everything that we've already worked on. I'm like, yeah, but better sound is better sound.
Yeah.
Just the logo will still be there.
Yeah.
People need to know that they need to be able to see when they interact with the brand that it goes beyond just
The
that
studio.
same way that we've been doing the things that we've been doing. And then little by little, talking to even the smallest player in the organization, everybody now realizes that, oh wow, I think this is possible. And yesterday we had a great session with an artist. It looked like something else, and
I think I saw that.
now they are going to be proud that, oh, okay, I was part of the guys that worked on this side.
Got it. Start doing this stuff.
Yeah.
When am I getting like a serenade from doing this stuff?
You should have come to see yesterday. I had a great time.
Did you invite me? This is fun. Are you having fun? Awesome. Tell me about your transition from being a career person to being a founder, not just a founder, a tech founder. What were you looking for? I mean, I think that you've always been like an entrepreneur, even when you were a career. So kudos for that. And I felt like, for me, knowing that I have a similar mind as yours as well, I know it would have been an easy transition. But tell me something that somebody who is not quite like that can learn from.
If you have your ducks in a row, if you play your cards right, tech is the easiest way to create wealth in an environment like ours. It's difficult. You will sweat, you will cry, you will attempt suicide, but it's still the easiest way, right? Because other ways of creating wealth in an environment like ours determines or demands that you must already have some wealth first.
Got it. Just to be clear, environment like ours, Nigeria.
Africa.
I
don't think in Nigeria. I'm so sorry. Yeah. I think in Africa. So tech is the only place, I mean, as far as I can see, that you can create $100 million company within 3 years, despite having $0 in year one.
Tell me more.
If I wanted to create a multimedia company, oil and gas company, health,
you need to have capital.
Company, I need to have capital. I need to know a businessman who is willing to share risk with me, or I need to tell my father to give me $1 million or whatever, blah blah blah. So that wealth has to pre-exist. But tech, you can just open your Visual Studio, start writing lines of code, and continue writing those lines of code, and go and talk to people who have problems, and then say, oh, this code I've written will solve this problem if you pay me this money. And then you do it repeatably, continuously, constantly, till you create wealth.
Got it. Yeah. So get the audience to buy into it, returning, and then Tell me about a time that you've dealt with shame and failure as a man. It's the end for me. Okay, so Okwabaja, tell me one that you think is very significant, and maybe
I can tell you the one that you relate to.
I think, right? Tell me.
I left Conga.
I was going to ask that question, but I'm like, we might get into it. I love it.
I left Conga in what I think were unfashionable ways, right? And for 3 years, I was off-radar, right? For somebody who at that time, like Seye has a lot to offer. What is he doing? Where is he? What's he up to? It was that I was dealing with my shame and failures, right? But with the mind that Seye, you are valuable, Seye, you are, all those affirmations, right? Like, and all those things like, don't worry, it's gonna work out and stuff like that. And then I had gone and created a family who was depending on me for everything. And everything is not even finance. It's like what your family depends on you the most for is like leadership and stability and stuff like that. So, and I created these ventures one after the other that just kept on failing, right? So I would not show up at your event. If you invited me to your wedding, I would not come, right? Prince's wedding, I didn't go. Toby's wedding, I didn't go, right? Yeah, I'm busy, I'm this and that, and this and that. I could have made it there, right? I was busy truly, but I could have made it if I, if I brought myself into the mindset where, oh, I need to shop at this place. I just disappeared, right? And I was like, you know what? I have a limited amount of time to figure myself out, and is do or die in the real sense of it, right? So the reality of the matter is that I wasn't new to it. It's not the first time. It happened many years ago as well, when my first instance at trying to be an entrepreneur. But this one was more all stakes, right? You've married, you have a kid, and you really have to determine what this period is going to be for the rest of your life. So I put my everything into it, right? I just kept on working and working and working and using all the resources available to me, my brain, my networks, and all that, to create something that will give me a platform to, or springboard to go on to bigger things. And the truth is that the existentiality of it is still there every day,
Still lingering,
right? Every day I wake up, I tell my friends. Somebody was asking me that, Ash, hey, what's it like to be a co-founder of a blah 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 blah. I'm like, bro, I live in that fear every day that all of this can go to zero. Even this morning, like I woke, I was thinking like, there's a meeting I need to have with my lawyer so that XYZ does not happen. So you live with that every day, and it's particularly painful for people who build in Africa, because the market can just tell you, we're not supporting you again. It happened this year. How we survived this year is a complete miracle. I have to tell the story of 2024 differently, right? Because we went into this year at 1,000 naira to $1, and by October we're dealing with 1,700. What that means in real life is, as in, we can say it as joke and all of that, but what that means in real life is that I need to quadruple my revenues to perform at the same level that I performed last year. It's insane, right? Normal people cannot deal with it, right? So yeah, that's a time where I dealt with shame and failure, and just continued going through it. There's a popular like a meme on social media where it says,
I'm just coming back.
If you are going through a lot,
keep going.
Continue going.
I'm just coming back from
myself, I'm just coming from a lot, right? So when people write me and say things like, somebody was texting me and says like, Seye, I need your help, and I'm like, I've helped him several times. Like, bro, I do appreciate this, right? I'm also going through a lot, bro. So if you are going through a lot, keep going. At some point, you come out of it.
Thank you. I was going to ask you that, but I also felt like, I don't know if you're... I knew you would be in the mental space for it because it was years ago, and but then I like that we just segued into it. Would you call that your most cherished failure?
Failure was poor. Failure was poor. Failure was poor. The beauty of success is that you only need one, right? I was giving a speech in Ibadan a few weeks ago, and I spoke about Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb. Everybody says, who is the inventor of the light bulb? Thomas Edison. But the reality is that he tried 10,000 variations, 10,000, that nobody remembers, because he got that one success. There's so many failures, my bro. There's so many. I don't even record them. Maybe when it gets to the point where, like I say, if I'm writing my autobiography and somebody puts a recorder in front of me and says, Seye, just tell me your life story. And then he now says, oh, okay, there were 11 failures before this one success, and then another 5 more failures before this other success. So, what I think works for me, especially because, like I said, it wasn't my first time, and I had experienced such low points before in my life, especially from somebody who came from not much, right? failures, yeah, those failures used to look at me like, actually, it's not really that
Beans,
bad,
yeah.
right? It's not that bad, right?
Yeah.
There's nowhere else to go here but up. So I don't feel, I mean, the shame, fortunately, I think I'm very charismatic. So I carry, even if I want to carry shame, I carry it in a way that is admirable.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't weigh me down too much. But yeah, man, I think people need that experience. People need that character building, character
Yeah.
development for them to be able to sort of enjoy their successes really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I agree. 100%. 100%. Um, as a man, which would you choose? Respect or understanding?
Hmm?
Respect or understanding? If you were to choose one, which would it be for you as a man?
I don't see how they are mutually exclusive.
Mm.
Respect or understanding, like from a third party.
I think maybe more from a woman.
Yeah. Do I respect this guy or do I understand him? I think both of them are on the same side. I understand this guy,
And I
therefore I
respect him.
respect him.
Yeah. But
Right?
then, yeah, please go ahead.
Hmm. Yeah. But what I think the question seeks to ask is, you know, how can I get to the point where I understand this guy so that I can respect him? Um.
Thank you. That's a better
Hmm.
frame of it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Thank
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I'm going to go back to everything as context.
you.
Everything has context, right? Because, and taking it away from all this work stuff and going back into relationships and stuff like that
Mhm.
is more like this guy was presented with opportunities to cheat on me,
Mhm.
and I understand that he had no other choice, so he did it. So I understand.
Mhm.
Versus, oh, even being presented with this scenario where he had no other choice, he found a way to navigate it, so I respect
Respect
him,
him.
right? I will always choose respect because
Mhm.
because I don't want anything to stay my white. uh, but like I said, everything has context, and the resolution of issues lies in your ability to communicate clearly. Um, a lot of the problems that people have is a horrible communication. Not even horrible, just less than
Listen,
decent.
yeah, yeah.
And you realize that, oh, I did not provide enough context to allow this person make a educated decision,
Yeah.
and I'm now going to judge them for that decision that they have made, whereas it was your fault for not even communicating clearly enough.
Fully got it. I really like that. Thank you. What's it like being a girl dad? You have two girls.
I mean, what's it like? I mean, it's just great, right?
Yeah.
I can't compare it to any other thing because I don't know any other thing. It's just great, as in, it's so beautiful to be able to create like life and see that life continue to evolve in your if I was an emotional guy, this is my point where I become emotional, because like my first kid got out of a really bad experience from when she was born, and now she's so brilliant. She tops, they don't do topping of class anymore, but she does so well in her grades. And Bibi is even mind blowing, right? She's not yet 3 years old, but she would speak to you like she's five,
Mhm.
and mostly because she learns from her elder sister, and just the context of her is very inquisitive and all of that. It's great to be able to see your own qualities forming in another person, and
Mm.
how they grow, and your own role in helping to shape them into a better person as well. It's great, as in, I can't wait to go home. Right, like right
Yeah.
now, I want to go home because I didn't see them last night. I got home very late. They had gone to bed, and before I woke up this morning, they had gone to school.
Right.
So today cannot pass. I have to see them. Right, so it's really great. It's
Awesome.
really great to have kids and be present in the life of those kids,
Mm.
and just be able to ask them about their own experiences, even as little as they are, and how they're able to report those things to you.
Got it.
It's a fantastic
I
experience.
love it. I love it. What has fatherhood revealed about yourself that you hadn't discovered prior?
Hmm.
And also, what lessons in your own upbringing are you intentionally passing down? And are you intentionally not passing down?
Good. The first thing that fatherhood has taught me is patience. I've realized that to go through life, I need a lot more patience than, even though I think I had quite a bit of that, I need more, right? Because, fatherhood, and especially because the context is fatherhood, you realize that this person just doesn't know as much as you do. And there's nothing you can do about it. They have to go through their emotions to learn it, right? So even if you know the outcomes of a decision, you have to allow them learn it, right? You did not charge your tab, so it's dead, right?
So why are you making a fuss?
And the person is frustrated, like, daddy, my tab is dead. My tab is dead. I can't watch my cartoon. Like, did you charge it? No. Oh, okay. Now you have to go and charge it. And while you are charging it, you have to sit and wait for it to charge. So she's frustrated and all of that. And I have the solutions. I can give her another tab or a phone and stuff like that. But I have to, hold back and say this person has to learn the reason why she must make these decisions at a particular time so that she can get the outcomes that she wants. The second thing was
what did you get from your childhood that you're intentionally passing and intentionally not passing?
One of the things that I don't know if it's even unconventional, is that
you're a very unconventional person to begin with.
Is that as much, even as much as I think that I'm a modern guy and educated enough and all of that, I still don't have the experiences that my kids have as at now versus when I was their age, right? I didn't have the internet growing up. I grew into the internet, but these kids were born into the internet. So she knows the 8 wonders of the world. She knows Machu Picchu. She knows the leaning pyramids of, the pyramids of Giza.
I don't even know anything you're talking about.
The 8 wonders of the world. So she knows these things at age 5, whereas I had to learn them at age 11, and it's just an example, right? So there are so many things in her experience that I'm outside of, and I have to respect that. Even though she's 5 years old, I have to learn from her. I have to learn how they manage their friendships and relationships in school. I have to learn that she's in an environment where she can let her teacher know that something is frustrating her, which I did not have because I had to conform to whatever my teacher spoke to me about in my own days and stuff like that. So there's just that grace of share your experience is not
the same
her experience, and you have to allow it, you have to learn it. What I don't want to pass down, there's so many things, right? And it's easy now to look behind and say, my daddy did this thing wrong and my mother did this thing wrong, so therefore I'm not going to do it. But again, you yourself, you're still building your own life. There's so much context. So for instance, I made a promise to myself that I was going to read a story to my kids every night before they go to bed.
How's that going?
I haven't done that in like 9 months, right? So what I just don't want to pass down is any form of detachment, in a way that, if there's anything they're going through, I want them to tell me about it, right? Okay. So what I encourage the most is for them to be able to express themselves and be patient enough for them to learn it, right? So like, I know what you're trying to tell me, but I need to give you the grace to allow you to tell it to me, so that you can learn how to communicate with your father, and it becomes a habit or a behavior for you.
I really like that, and I like it because teaching them to express themselves is something that is very natural to you. However, giving them the grace to grow in that expression while you are patient, I think that's a fine balance. And well done to you and your wife. So last question, what is a word, a phrase, a summary or story that can describe the entirety of your human experience? You've said you want to do an autobiography. I think you deserve to have an autobiography at this point. You've gone through so much in life.
I've not done much.
You've gone through so much in life. At least, maybe say first, what's it called? silver jubilee and extras or something. Yeah. So what would you describe as the entirety of your current human existence, if you have to put it in a context?
A moment. It's a bit difficult. I can't box it into one thing. Like this is the description of my experience. But
Tell me what comes to mind in whatever way.
I mean, yeah, the impact that I want to make is what drives me,
Mm.
right? I think I'm going to have a great family regardless,
I think so too.
right? But I feel like it is too little of an impact on society to call it a day. So I need to graduate that experience. I need to expand it. I think I've also had some impact on my employees and the people that work with me. Although now it's looking like it's the guys who joined in the early days who had that direct impact the most. And I'm struggling right now to be able to impact the whole team the way I was able to impact when we were just 10, right? But I'm working on it and trying my best to ensure that most people are able to say that, oh man, when I worked at paid, this is what I learned from Share, and this is how I think what I learned from Share has helped me become a better member of society. So yeah, is that impact. What has defined it is just constantly recognizing the opportunity to grow. Never be comfortable in mediocrity. Now is I choose my battles, right? It's like Monkey will make sense now. Let's fix it. Let's fix it. Let's try and fix it.
Yeah.
But now, like, oh man, if you spend your time fixing this, then you're gonna forget about this other one and all that. So I've been defined by continuing to recognize opportunity and doing my best to help Africa become a better place.
Got it.
And that will continue to drive me.
Yeah. I think you are one of the people who, I wouldn't use the word shape. I will use the word gave me the field to play around my talents and my skills, and for that I really respect you and how the fullness of who you are gives grace to other people and allows people to like be the fullness of themselves by just you even being yourself, really. Where can we find you, and what is your name and all that on social
My
media?
name is Seye Bandele. You can find me on Twitter where I'm delivering my human experience. But if you want a more curated experience, you can find me on like LinkedIn, on my personal website, seyebandele.com, or in my office. I'm always at work.
Okay. Yeah, you're actually always at work. Thank you.
Yeah.
This has
Cheers.
been fun. Cheers.